Good evening. My name is Vanessa Demirciyan. I am an anthropologist and the director of the Alliance Francaise of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and it is my pleasure to be your host this evening for this Q&A section of tonight's screening, for the Hairouna Film Festival 2022 on non-English Caribbean films. And I also invite you to stay on after the screening and to remember that at 8 p.m. you will have Herencia, also live. And for now, you just looked at 4 short movies from the non-English speaking world, Caribbean part of the world. And we have the pleasure to have with us this evening Aïshah and Tittel from Curaçao for the movie Salga. And we also have Wally Fall with us from the movie Plowing the Stars. You also looked at Back in the Island from Dominican Republic and Like the Rain in May as well. And Wally is from Guadeloupe. And we will actually begin by letting our filmmakers introduce themselves and tell us a bit about their film this evening. So Aïshah, Tittel, I don't know how you want to, maybe we can start with you, Aïshah.
Hi, my name is Aïshah Granviel. I'm from Curaçao. I was one of the directors of the film Salga. It was made entirely with the students and the staff and the alumni of Instituto Buenavista, which is like a school in Curacao for the arts, where we prepare to go to university afterwards. And together with my fellow students, we wrote the film. We got everything together, so it's really made with everybody from the school. And it's just a really big group project. And I think I'll let Tittel talk about films.
Awesome.
Thank you, Aïshah.
Tittel.
Yeah, so I'm Tittel Dilmar, and I ran the film project. I am so happy that we could finish this because we started before the pandemic, and then we were waiting for the animations to get done. So a lot happened, but it was, like Aïshah said, a group project by the students. The students helped produce. They made the sound, the music, the final mastering. Almost everyone that worked on, literally everyone that worked on the film either went to the school. Like I'm an alumna, I graduated about a little more than 10 years ago, or they work at the institute currently, or they were students at the time of filming it. Almost everyone that worked on the film is now studying abroad, mostly in the Netherlands. Like Aïshah is currently also studying abroad. So it was absolutely amazing to do, because you could see how through the process of making these film, these guys went from I know nothing about film to now sending me links to other projects and being like, did you see the lighting? It was trash.
That's great. And I think that that's the as you said, the interesting part also of your film is the mix between the animation and the film. And how did you come up with this project?
Okay, I guess that's a good one for me to answer, since I was also guiding the film project. We've been making films for about 5 years now at IBB, and it literally happened by putting everyone, we were about 30 people, I think, in one room and just sitting down and saying, what do you guys want to do? Because we had nothing. And it started by giving assignments, like they had to research how to make mood boards, and they just had to present. And from the mood boards came department heads. And then very organically, it just started about, why don't we do something about gossip? Why don't we do something like, very, very entwined with the culture here? And then slowly it was like, I want to do something weird. Oh yeah, that would be cool. Can I do something weird? So it just happened so organically. And then the hard work actually came, because it was like, okay, we got this concept. What do we do now? And then they had to see everything, how to take it from a short story, because basically, Aïshah, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had like a one-pager that was a story, and within the course of like 3 to 4 weeks, we had to have a finished script because we needed to film before the summer vacation, because in that summer vacation, these guys were getting on a plane and leaving. So Aïshah, if you want to add on, because you were a student back then.
Yeah, I remember, like you said, we had groups that, and every group had like, we expressed our interest in what we wanted to do for the film, and then we were sorted into groups, and then the writing group, for example, was with 6 of us, I think, and then we each wrote our own short story, and then we discussed the short stories together, and we each picked, and then together we picked the elements that we found most interesting, and together we wrote a new story. And then I think it was like today, like 3 years ago, we finished the script, the story itself, and then 2 of our students who were in the story made the screenplay together with Tittel. And then, yeah, that came the hard part of actual production, which was, I think, one of the hardest parts. But yeah, it was just everybody working together, and we had to, communication was, I think, the most important part for me as a student, because we had to communicate to each other how to get everything done. And there were some problems sometimes, but in the end, I think it was worth it. It was a really nice project to work on.
Yeah, I think it's even more amazing when you think about it, to think that it's the project of a lot of people, because as you said, it's really difficult sometimes to have everybody the same page, or respecting the deadlines, or being reachable, or having different ideas. And it's really interesting also that you're treating that topic of gossip that's also very, not only, but still very Caribbean, and that's very present in, there's no language border there. There's like everywhere it's the same, but you also have that kind of mystic touch. There's a lot of, there's a, it's still, I find, and I find this in a lot of the movies, there's a lot of spiritual anchor. There's a lot of, I mean, I don't know, but it's very, the gossip part is very, I really like the approach that you took to touch this topic. It was very original, I found.
If I may add, I think that also very much came out of necessity, because it was so difficult to figure out how to do it in a way that wasn't feeding the audience what it was. So at one point, because there were so many takes that due to time we weren't able to do, so it kind of just was like a happy accident that we weren't able to do some things, and then we actually left out a lot during the edit to make it more mysterious. So sometimes things just go the way they gotta go, definitely in the film world.
Definitely, and things always go the way that they should go. So that's when we look at the results, that's amazing. And Wally, if you may also introduce yourself, and then we will talk a little bit more about Flowing with the Stars.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Wally Fall. I am, originally I'm from Martinique. Actually, I live in Guadeloupe. And I've been in Guadeloupe for a few years now. And that project, I mean, and yeah, one important thing to say is the fact that I am the co-founder of a film collective called Cinémaron. We are mainly operating from, the French parts of the Caribbean, French Guyana, and, some of us are in Paris or in La Réunion, which is another island in the Indian Ocean. So basically, it was a way for us to create another way to make our work and the work made by others, to create new circulations or new routes to make these work travel through screenings without necessarily having a festival. But yeah, it was a way for us to screen films and to talk about films and show our work and other people's work as well. About this project, if I maybe jump straight away, that project came along with Agnès Noël, which is, she wrote the text that you hear. She is the main character of the film. She's a friend of mine. We've worked together on my first short film a few years ago. Yeah, she was still living in Haiti at the time. I had already moved to Guadeloupe, and she was coming back home for Christmas holidays. And she sent me a text saying, "Hey man, we need to do something." That's how it started. And yeah, we jumped in.
And that's actually, again, I find a lot of, in all the movies, I love short movies, and I also love that I always find them very poetic in their way. And this movie touches also a very sensitive topic, and it's touched in a very poetic way again, but it's still very engaged. It's talking a lot of, I mean, from the heart, and a lot of truth that are not always addressed, and that are not always said out loud. And I find, and also there's the notion of belonging to a land, or there's the notion of identity is also touched. How did you, tell me a bit more about that? Tell us.
Basically, when we started with Agnes, we didn't know what the film would be. We wanted to do something quickly. That's how we started, even though eventually it took us like a year and a half to complete the film. But when we started, she was coming home for like 2 or 3 weeks. We were like, let's shoot something and edit it straight away, and boom, bam, bam, it's done, you know. And it didn't happen this way, actually, because she was supposed, I mean, when we met after she arrived home, we met and we wanted to talk about a few topics we had already in our minds, like the fact that the youth is going away and not coming back. So the population is aging because of that, in a huge part. We have one of the most aging population of the Caribbean at the moment. This is really a big concern for us. We're like, okay, I mean, if the youth is going away and not coming back, I mean, in a few years, I mean, you're gonna have more old people than young people, you know. And then, but we wanted to talk about history, because historically in the French Caribbean, the youth has been driven away by various things. Some of them were political decisions made by the French states to bring the youth out of the islands, to take them to France because they were promised some work, just like the Windrush generation was the same, you know, the same mechanics. So the youth got driven away, got you know, flown away or taken away. It was institutionalized, okay, at the time. Now it's not happening this way, but still the youth is still being said that there is nothing for them at home, back home. So they need to go away if they want to study, if they want to find a proper job, and etc. So this was one of the first things we wanted to address. We wanted to talk about, obviously, colonialism, because we still have a colonial relationship with France, with mainland France, okay, in many ways. And we wanted to talk about intergenerational transmission as well. It was important because we felt that there was a lack of transmission between one generation to a younger one, which leads among other things, to the fact that every generation is reproducing the same mistakes. You know, we as if they were not made before us. You know, as if we were inventing something. Most of the time, all the mistakes that the young generation of today makes it's been done already. But because there is a lack of transmission, we're not learning from those past errors. You know, those past mistakes. So all these things, we just put them in a basket, saying, okay, we want to talk about this, you know, and then we started to think about how we could do it. So Agnes came about with the idea of a character that was gonna walk about an empty island. So she would start in the countryside, in the nature, you know, like outside of the city. And when she would reach the city would be empty. It was more or less the idea. The other ideas like the character or the music came afterwards, you know. The music played a big part in the process because when Anya sent us the text like 5 months after the first shoot, I mean, she was supposed to write, I mean, if you remember, she was supposed to write the text right before we shot the film. She didn't do it. We had to shoot it with a vague idea of what we wanted to say, but not knowing what the text would be actually saying. But we shot a few scenes. She wrote the text. From the text, I had to rearrange it a little bit, give it to a friend of mine whose name is Sonny Troupé. He's a drummer and a jazz musician from Guadeloupe. And he forced me, because I had to give it to him, he forced me to really find the structure of the text, you know. So he made the music from the text, actually, not from the film. He made the music and I made the editing from the music and the text and other elements that were added afterwards. But it was a long process because of all that.
Yes, that's and as you said, there are a lot of things addressed in the short film, and again, very poetically, it's a great job, and music also plays in Salga as well, a very important place. Right, music is also very important, and generally, I think, again, not only here but generally throughout the region. Also, as you said. Maybe sometimes in transmitting some things also through music. It's also a good tool that's used for that. And I think it was, yes, absolutely well used in both films. Anything to add on the importance or role of music in your film, Tittel or Aïshah?
Since I also worked on the soundtrack, I think it's good that I tune in on that. We made an entire EP for this film because we didn't know what we were going to need. We spent nights and nights and nights in the studio inventing this raw man character. And that kind of defined how the story started to form for the actors. We created like the video clip that was shown a bit in the short film. It's an entire clip. It's on YouTube. You can just find it. And it just became a necessity. And that's, I think, something that is very, very entwined with our culture in the Caribbean. It's like, we can't finish, we can't produce if the music isn't up to par, right? So sound was so important. And that's also where, I mean, the whole thing is about this random sound that you hear and you don't know what to do about it, if it's dangerous, if it's not, if you should panic. So sound was so important. We're actually going to release the EP as Raw Man True's album on YouTube later once we're done with the festival. But I honestly did not expect music to play such a big role in this film until we're like a month into the project and we're just spending a whole week every night until like 1 a.m. in the studio inventing a character. I mean, I've done character design before, but this was, and it wasn't just for the film, it was out of urgency. It was like we couldn't completely understand the character until we dive deep enough into the music. So yeah, that was a big deal for us.
And music is indeed a great way of communication, no matter what you're communicating. So yes, great job on that. We have some questions here from the audience. We have Raymond, I hope I'm pronouncing properly. If not, please excuse me, in Trinidad. The question is for Aïshah and Tittel. Did I see a large tin of cured chicken salami in the first scene with Jacqueline and Dan? And if yes, it amuses me the fun ways like this, how us island folks are connected.
That is definitely one of the things that we made sure to introduce. I can't remember if it was chicken or if it was pork, but we had all sorts of things because we were like, people need to see this and feel like this is from Curacao, from the Caribbean. And we just made sure. That's why there's junk food, there's all the things, because I was like, we're not gonna fake this. We are going to show people that, of course, it's exaggerated. Of course, the characters are fake. But honestly, I was sitting watching this with my own raw fam, and they were like, oh, that person reminds me of this person, and that person reminds me of that. So yeah, that was conscious. That was a very conscious choice.
And that's amazing. That's one thing that you do, see being with people or with food or with music, the way that it still like connects people and where you realize that how much everybody is actually connected. And there's another question from Brent Schuffler in Montserrat. Montserrat, so for the last one. Alors, my first query, there was a lot of visual sensuality or sex appeal. Example, the performer goes shirtless, the hairdresser flaunts her body, and then even the Dutch journalist ends up showing a lot of her physique. Was this purposeful or simply representative of the culture?
This was a combination of how we wanted to represent the culture and how we wanted the identity of the actors to come forth as well. Because I mean, you guys haven't seen all the behind the scenes, but if you saw it, you would understand how these people were casted so good for their roles. It came because remember, they didn't have weeks upon weeks to learn a script or anything. So it was really important that these people can get into the role real quick. So it's like if someone was awkward, it was a part of it. If they were comfortable with their body, it's because that's how they are in real life. So we try to, yes, it's fiction, but we still kept it very close to how they really were. So that wasn't necessarily because we thought it was necessary to show skin, but why not if that's how the person is, if that's how the culture resonates. But it wasn't to trigger anything, that's for sure. It wasn't like some hidden message. It was just, it is what it is. If that's how they dress, it's how they dress. It's all good.
And I mean, sensuality and sex appeal is also definitely part of the Caribbean culture. So yes, you cannot hide people, cover people for the movies. Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question. So person say, hello, and here I apologize in advance. Corsu represent. How did I do? Question for the film titled Salga. Is there a specific meaning to the word and usage of wesu?
Aïshah, you want to go at this one or you want me to handle it? Yeah? Okay. I think in English you say a double entendre, or yeah, so it's double meaning. Because wesu, it's also bone. So they're talking about having a boner, right? A hard on. So this is where the whole joke came from. It's about these teenagers, these young adults just having fun, talking smack, and then like, hey, can we say something like really explicit? And I'm like, what do you want to do? So the thing came about to just scream boner. And I'm like, I if I'm entirely honest, I wanted people to not only learn in this project, I wanted these guys to have fun on this project. So if it made sense to scream boner to make the movie work, we're screaming boner.
Thank you, Tittel. Aïshah, anything you want to add?
I think the sentence also came from real life, where one of the people in the writing team, someone told them that, and then they were discussing it, and then we were discussing it as a group. And that's why we decided to use that specific sentence, because like 2 days earlier, somebody was like telling this girl, like, yeah, I have a hard one for you. And it was just like very ridiculous situation. So then I think that's why we decided to use it. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Brent again, query about the film with the girl by the river. Oh, but I think that here Brent refers, if I'm not wrong, to Like the Rain in May. I will read the question still. I noticed the pieces of broken glass. What does this represent? Yes. So at the end, I was wondering whether there was a sub-theme about adolescence. She meets a young man along in the forest. So this is referring to Like the Rain in May, Brent, if I am not wrong. And unfortunately, we do not have the team with us. I don't know. We'll get back on this one, okay? We have another question from Hyman, sorry. Again, question for Wally. I recall last year or so, Guadeloupe was in the news for anti-lockdown protests. However, considering they were out in their local flag, was there something more going on behind these protesters being out in the streets?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, there have been a lot of protests, not only in Guadeloupe, but in Martinique, against the lockdown and against the vaccine as well. But to understand this, I have to maybe tell you that, about something that happened in both islands. Is there have been for the past 30 years or so, there have been a huge pollution with a pesticide called chlordecone, used in the banana plantations, which are overrepresented on both islands. This is the main, the main monoculture of the island, made by big planters. They used this pesticide that was forbidden in the US and in mainland France. But some ministers and some local representatives as well allowed the pesticides to be used. We have the highest rate of prostate cancer in the world, because mainly of the use of that pesticide. Even though justice wouldn't recognize that there is a link. How on earth would we have the highest rate of prostate cancer if there is no link to this kind of pollution? So I'm just saying this because of this, and because now there is a trial that might conclude itself with a dismissal. I don't know what's the word in English. Because of that, every decisions that are being made in France for us is being dismissed as this is your story, this is not ours. Okay. However extreme that might be or that might sound. So I think in both islands, people were against, most of the people. There was a majority of the people wouldn't have the vaccine, even some, and there was a huge propaganda at the time in France saying people in the Martinique and Guadeloupe are against the vaccine because they are undereducated and this kind of, or they practice voodoo, or they drink too much rum, this kind of stuff. You could hear that on mainstream medias of, at the time. It was just 6 months ago. No, it's like almost a year ago, actually. So basically, that even increased the defiance of the population towards these decisions. I know people around me, people who are the age of my parents, who would tell you that they would rather die than take the vaccine. Okay, so this is how extreme it was. So this is just to give you the context of those protests. So yeah, maybe to answer the question, yeah, there was a bit more than protesting the lockdown.
Thank you, Wally. Yes, it is a very complex topic. It was like, it was like a big, well, you've already poisoned us. Why would we trust you into forcing us to take anything from you? Like that's
exactly.
And another wider also complexity in the protest that you also address in your film as well. There's some parts of that. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed and that often end on the streets, and it's a gathering of all of those emotions. And emotions are guiding also you guys when you're doing those films, in choosing the topics that you address, in treating them, in choosing the way that you address them, through comedy, through music, through through poetry, sorry. And I really love to see, and I really commend the film festival to showcase filmmakers from the Caribbean, young filmmakers, men, women. It's really nice to see your work and to see the enthusiasm and also the activism in the films that you are all making. No more. Well, I want to find out if if you presented the movie, the films locally, if you have presented it locally, and how was it received by your audience home? So maybe ladies first, Tittel and Aïshah, how or where have you presented the film and how was it received?
So far, we haven't, up until recently, not even the rest of the crew saw the movie yet, because A, most of them are abroad, but B, most festivals don't accept the films if they already have had a live screening. So far we've only had, this is why this was the Caribbean premiere, and we were utterly excited to have it happen. So we're gonna run some festivals, and then we're gonna have as big of a party as we can hold on Curacao.
That's awesome. And this is also another reason why to commend the film festival, is that it also gives a platform for filmmakers to showcase their films. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy to have a platform for arts, and also to have it to have an international one. So I'm really, again, commending the team of the Hairouna Film Festival for that, and all of you for taking part too, and for submitting your films.
If I may just add, one of the reasons I'm so happy to be here tonight is because Hairouna, the team is just amazing. This is one of the most supportive festivals that I have experienced so far. You're not just submitting a film and that's it. You are reaching out. You're actually in contact with people. It feels like they truly want your film and they want to showcase your film. They are sharing all the filmmakers. They're holding educational programming. So it's just such an honor to be a part of Hairouna. I mean, we've followed since day one just as fans. So to be a part of this now, it's just, thank you. It's amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. Big up to the Hairouna Film Festival team. Definitely. I agree. Yes. Wally, what about you? Did you get to screen the film in any other context?
Yeah, we screened the film in quite quickly in Martinique. It was screened as an installation. It was screened so for 4 days, like in loop for 4 hours. So it was really nice because people could watch it over, I mean, twice in a row or 3 times in a row. And we could be, I mean, I was around, we could have a chat afterwards. And then it was screened in Guadeloupe. I mean, because with the pandemic, we had a situation that we had to navigate in between lockdown periods, you know. So we had to wait for and a few festivals managed to take place outside of lockdown, because we had like 2 months, you know, of reduced lockdown, and we could, you know, they could organize events welcoming an audience in a venue. And we did the one we did that was really a proper screening with an audience was Grenadines Film Festival. It was in December 2020. And it was really, really intense as an experience because, yeah, there was a huge audience. People, we screened it in Creole without subtitles because usually when we screen stuff, even home in Creole, it is subtitled in French, you know. But this time, because of a technical problem, the subtitles didn't work. So everyone was happy. We loved it to be able to watch the film in Creole. And yeah, there was a very nice discussion afterwards, and it was really the first time that we could experience firsthand what the audience had felt about the film, because other than that, it was mainly on online actually. But yeah, I wanted to say big up to the Hairouna Film Festival as well, because I can feel the love when they're sharing our work. And yeah, it is not every festival is doing the same. So yeah, big up. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I agree. Well, love is the key, you know, as we're saying, for everything. So, and we can feel it, and you know when it comes from the heart. And and as you're saying, I think it's very interesting to to mention the fact that your film is in Creole, and that you find this a lot also from films from Martinique and Guadeloupe, this importance to have them, to that it's even natural that they are going to be in Creole, and the symbolism, as you say, it was not on purpose, but the fact that it was only in Creole was actually even stronger of a meaning in this context. We have a couple more questions, and then we will close for this evening to allow the screening of Herencia that is coming. We have a question for Brent Shuffler. It's a general query for all the producers in these other islands that you represent. How does the culture treat women? I saw some instances that men seem to be objectifying women. How one manages the female Dutch journalist, for example, if it's something that we can address quickly before we close today. Tittel.
Real quick, long story short, that is something that is absolutely disgusting from our culture. And we did not want to leave it out because the objectification of women is just ridiculous. And I've been to some other Caribbean islands and it was the same. I used to think that it was just, oh no, the men in Curacao are horrible. And then I traveled and it's like, oh no, so this is a real macho Caribbean thing. So no, it needed to be shown, because when they see it, then it's like, oh. So yes, it is a conscious decision to have it in there, to even have it a bit exaggerated, because sometimes you got to put a little bit of comedy into it so that so it lingers. Definitely.
Yes, agree on that, definitely. Wally?
Yeah, I mean, just like Tittel said, I think it's a reality. It's a reality. I think I as an artist, as a filmmaker, I think I'm really aware of this, and I'm really I mean, making sure that my film my work never reproduces that, or encourages this kind of behavior, or that's most of the time are just it's like unconscious stuff that people are reproducing because they think it's normal, until it's addressed. I mean, really and truly, just like that, I said, and we can have a discussion about it to say, okay, no, this is not okay. What you thought was okay has never been okay, actually. It was just silenced or tolerated before, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's also referring to, as you said before, in transmitting mistakes that are not addressed, so that you just repeat them without really addressing what's the trauma, what's the issue, what's the base that makes that. And there's definitely a lot of work still to do on that field, absolutely. Well, I will now close the question and answer session for tonight, and it was a pleasure being here with you guys. Thank you very much. Congratulations and all the best for your films, for you in the future, and more films, more festivals, and hopefully for next Hairouna Film Festival as well with another movie. Thank you to the team of Hairouna Film Festival. You all take care, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Goodbye.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good
Bye
night.
bye.